Hello guys, welcome to the studio again. I've done already one painting of a horse, actually two, but one was recorded, the other one not. So I've decided to do another one of a black horse. I'm working on a piece of paper that is 14 by 17. I made the image of the horse about the same ratio, so I can use the side of the image as a reference. Okay, so what I mean by that is that my composition is pretty much, so the image is about the same size than that. So I can use the hollow space, the negative space, to paint the horse. So I can use the side of the paper as a reference as well. It's not only for the house, for the horse, is also for the image. The fact is, when you work live, it's more difficult to do it. Now, let's say there's people like Vermeer and other painters who are using frames like this. So basically, on some sort of a stand, you put a frame of the image you're painting, and you stand a couple of feet away from that. So that gives you the proportion of the image and so on. So it's I remember as a young painter, I had a device as well. It was made of two square like this, and you could, change the thing like this, kind of. And so we are just composing the image like this. So it's tricks that have been used for ever. It's not something new. It's not something that I invented. Obviously, it's going to help you to create the image and to use the right proportion. So I'm going to start on the paper. Let me make sure. I think I'm a little bit off on that. So I'm just going to modify. So the way I do it, I show you all the process. So I'm putting something here, so it helped me just to. Okay, and I think I need to go a bit lower. Just because I replace the paper, so each time I replace the paper, I have to do that in order to make sure that the camera is properly taking the image. And like this. I'm sorry, I should have done that before. Okay, we're good. So it's my little trick to make sure that my paper is properly seen by the camera. Okay, so I'm going to mix a little bit of black and turpentine. I'm going to make it really liquid, and so I'm just going to locate things. I'm going to try to forget what I'm painting, because if I start thinking it's a horse, it's going to be almost impossible because it's too complex. So I'm just using some elements. So you see what I'm doing? I'm mapping. I'm not really doing the sketching. I'm just making the lines in relationship with the others. Here we have that here, about here. That goes from here. We have that beautiful shape here, and then we have that shape that goes here. And I need to stay. What's really important is to be able to all the time to modify what I'm doing. So no line is definitive. It's only I'm just giving information. So for example, if I bring that leg, this one, if I bring it there, it's about here, so the direction is somewhere here, and it goes pretty much in the corner here. So just by doing those kind of elements, it helps me to locate the thing. And I'm also using the negative space. So we don't say negatives. I mean, the way we do it in French is not negative, because I almost feel like negative space means the space is negative, and I don't really like that. It's not negative. It's more like a empty space. Or okay, so you see, just by giving some information like this, I'm pretty much making the drawing without struggling too much. So where is that foot? Here. It's about here. So I have something here, something here, and the other foot is there, and here it's blurry, so I'm not going to get too. What's the distance between that and that? Yeah, it's about there. I might have to modify it as I'm painting. And now I'm just going to start putting the big mass. You know, that's really black here. I have some black here as well. Here. Sorry, you can hear my daughter coughing in the back. She's been sick a little bit. So I'm using that house as a studio for now. Until the studio we are building is done, you'll witness that thing, because you know we're gonna document the whole process of building a studio, what it means when it comes to light, when it comes to the needs in the studio. You know, what do we need, the way we're gonna arrange everything, the easel and so on. So I will share all that with you. So, as I said, you know, I'm just locating things right now. I'm not trying to... I don't feel like I'm drawing a horse, you know, I'm just drawing shapes and volumes. Now the thing is that, as you can tell, it's not looking like a horse, but it's more something that's coming along, you know, like naturally then. So if you use that technique, you will be able to draw anything. You know, sometimes people ask me if it's more difficult to do a portrait or to do a landscape or whatever. It all depends how you envision your landscape. If you're painting, like for example, if you paint a tree, but you don't care about the tree that much, so you know you're just going to paint a tree, you're not going to paint that tree, then it's not that difficult. Now if you really want to paint that tree, that means the branch, the shape of the trunk, of the everything. I mean, I think it's as difficult to paint a tree than to paint a portrait. It's all about the level of demand we have for what we paint. So, to be honest with you, I don't really like that paper because it has a warm tone, and with black and white painting, I think it's creating some sort of a, you know, I'd rather go with a light gray or even white, but that's okay, it's what I have. So I'm going to work with it, but as I said, you know, I'm feeling like it's not my favorite tone. So we have about a third here, and it's really strange because the horizon is just you know, here with the horse. So as you can see, the horizon is kind of blurry when it comes to that line. So if you do a seascape, it's the same thing, you know, that those lines pretty much always blurry. So for that painting, I'm using quite a lot of Equine at the beginning because I really want to block the paper, the absorption, I don't know how you say that, but you know, like the more I'm going to put Equine, the more the paper is going to be almost like oil proof. You know, at that point I almost can use just Equine and and what's left in my brush is enough to create a little bit of a gray. So I already explained, but you know what I like about painting on paper like this is that the paper is the glue of the paper. So you know that paper is a paste. I mean, to create paper, they create a paste using wood and other component, of course, but mostly wood. And so they put a glue to hold it together. And that glue is not mixable with turpentine. So it's why the turpentine, when the turpentine hits that paper, the paper remains completely flat. If I was painting with a water-based technique, of course, the whole thing would be different. The paper would be just wavy. And so if I wanted to do that on paper, I mean, with all water-based technique, I would use a stretch paper. I used to do that a lot when I was a younger painter because I was doing a lot of work on paper with ink or any kind of thing like this. And so the way you do it, you stretch the paper. That means you wet the paper and you stretch it on a piece of wood. And the paper, once you do that, the paper will tie. It's almost like the skin of a drum or something. It's really tight. And then you can work with a lot of water-based technique on it, and it's not going to move. So people who do watercolor, I was going to say aquarelle, which is a French word. Aqua, water, aquarelle. So water-based technique. So a lot of people who do watercolor, that's what they do. They stretch their paper. So they work on a paper that is stretched. So they avoid the problem of the paper being wavy. We don't have to do that with oil-based technique. It's why I really like to work on paper, because it's so much easier. But you see that line is perfectly aligned with the top of the horse. So I'm just going to do like this. Okay. I already start having my horse coming to life. So same thing, I'm going to keep on working on those lines, you know, leaving what I feel is the white or the grays. Okay, I'm going to start working with another brush. I can work a little bit in the background because there's something a bit darker here that's going to be nice at some point. Same thing here, you know, there's the waves. Here as well, so we know we can play a little bit and just create those water effect. Yeah, I have something pretty strong. It's a bit difficult for me because the white of the paper, the surrounding, is about the same color than the background, so it's kind of confusing, but that's okay. Okay, here we are. So now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So you see, just, you know, just really simply, I put together the big sketch. So now I'm gonna actually switch to a smaller brush, and I'm going to start to redraw all those lines. So I have a beautiful one here, and it goes up here. And it's all about self-correcting, you know. So I mean by that, you know, I just all the lines I'm doing, everything I'm doing is movable. I need to be able to change the location of all those lines, because none of them are at the right place. They might be close, but they're not at the right place, that's for sure. Sometimes it's by a lot, sometimes it's just by a little bit, but you know, if I keep in mind that everything is movable, then I won't get stuck with something that is not okay. You know, sometimes young painters, when they do something, they're so scared about losing it that even if it's wrong, they keep it. No, if it's wrong, you need to get rid of it. You need to move it while you can. Like, let's say, if the head is not at the right place, like for example, it would be, you see like that angle, for example, the face, the head of the horse is not vertical, it's more like this, right? So that means I need to go more like this and like this. So that means I might have to get rid of that. So if I'm not able to move it, then, you know, I do something and I'm going to try to work around my own mistakes to, at some point, realizing that it's not going to work. Like, for example, it's absolutely the point with portrait. You need to be able to move everything pretty much all the time, because if something is wrong and you don't want to move it, you're not going to get the likeness. Just what it is. So you see, I'm looking at this beautiful space, the white space here, and it's not white, but it's lighter, and I'm going to paint that space. I don't care about the horse. I'm just going to try to get that shape. It's a complex shape, and I'm going to try to be as close as possible, and then once I will be done, it's going to match what needs to be done. So look now, for example, like if I look, I feel like that line is not okay. My line is going here, okay? That line here, you see roughly, this line is going here. If I look at the original, at the horse, that line is actually going here. So that means that this line is more like this. So I need to move it. And that's what I said when I said you need to be able to move things, because if one of your line is wrong and you work for hours and hours on it and everything is done and everything is wrong, but everything is done, then you're going to be stuck with an information that should be changed. And quite often, young painters, I'm not talking necessarily by their age, but by their experience, they don't want to change it. So they keep using something that is off. And of course, at the end, the painting is not going to look good because the drawing was off as a starting point. I'm also judging where are the blackest point, like I have this beautiful black. Okay, so where is that? If I go the vertical here, yeah, it's about here. It goes inside here, and it goes like this. And then I have that black here. Okay, and now I have that belly that is really black, and that goes like this. So you see, just by moving slowly and, you know, trying to compare things, like for example, okay, I have this beautiful shape here with some light gray here, and it's just going there. So You know, you can use your brush if you want to. You can use your brush. You know, let me go back to the camera. So I'm going to explain to you. You all have seen some, you know, artists, you know, in the movie or whatever. You know, they're using the brush like this, you know, arm straight, and they're measuring that distance regard to that distance. You know, like comparing distances. I do it, but not with my brush. I do it with my eyes and my experience. My brain is built now in order that I don't need that anymore. But at the beginning, I was doing that. And if you want to do it, it's fine, because, you know, if you want to measure a certain distance to another one and so on and compare them just to create that mental grid, that's going to help you to locate all the elements of the horse. So what I want is not to paint conscientiously a horse. I want you to have a trip in your mind of locating elements and so on. And at some point, you're going to look at it and say, wow, it looks like a horse. That's what I want you to get. It's not like I'm not going to teach you how to draw a horse from, you know, like the length of, you know, the name of the muscle, the name of the bones. No. It's just because if you do that, then you're going to specialize in painting horses, only horses. What I want you to do, or to be able to, is to paint anything. And if you use that technique, you can paint anything, because everything can go through the same process, mental process. So let's go back to the painting. I have that beautiful line here, here. So basically, I'm measuring things almost permanently in my head. So you won't see me using my brush. But the truth is that I do it, but I do it because I'm so trained. I've done it for so many years. Now my eyes have that thing built in, you know what I mean? So I don't need to use the brush anymore, but I still do exactly that. So like, for example, you see I'm looking at that empty space here, and it goes like this. And then I have that leg here. So, you know, what I want you to get is almost to be surprised by what you're doing. You know, like the painting is going to come to you naturally, without any effort, without any struggle, you know. And once again, if you know how to paint like this, you can paint anything. You can paint a portrait, you can paint a landscape, a dog. And if you do that, you won't paint a tree, you will paint that tree. And that's really what we want, is to be able to paint anything we want. So you see the legs, for example, those ones, as they get closer to the water, they turn into a lighter gray, to the point where here it's almost gray. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a gradient here. Okay, so now I'm going to look at that space here. So here it's almost vertical. Where is that thing coming? That thing is coming from just there. And by the way, that is more like this. So you're seeing by comparing things, by looking at things, one regards to each other, then I cannot really, like for example, okay, I have the nose of my horse that is somewhere here, okay, and I need to make it dance with the legs. So look at that space here, like it goes from here, then I go here. So now I don't look at the leg, I look at the empty space here, right? So now I look at the leg, of course, because I want that darker point. Now that line here, this one, where is it going? So if I go up, look, make it in relationship with this one, and you will see that it's going to make things easier for you to paint. Because now you're not painting something independently of the rest. Okay, look, that almost look like you know, like some sort of a princess or something, a face of a princess from the side, and she's wearing some sort of a crown, and it goes like this. So now if I want to paint that shape, Of course, it's much simpler than painting legs of a horse, because that shape here, I understand it. It's pretty simple. While the legs of the horse are really complicated. Same thing for this one, you know. I feel like that leg is actually here. So I'm going to use a brush with some white to just correct that. You know, I'm trying to paint that shape here. I don't paint the legs of a horse. I'm painting an abstract rectangle or whatever is the, it's not a rectangle, but you know what I mean. It's some sort of a geometric figure. Same thing here, you know, I feel like the crown of my Nefertiti or whoever it is, my Egyptian princess, is more like this. And the strange thing is that you're going to see that, you know, now I'm painting that thing without knowing what it is, and I'm just going to call it the princess. And the princess is actually making the legs of the horse really good, because, you know, I'm not trying to paint the legs of the horse, which is really difficult. I'm not even sure I can paint legs of a horse, but now I can paint everything that's around. You see, same thing here, you know, I feel like, okay, and then that thing is more like this. Here I have a line here. So sometimes, instead of painting from the inside, paint from the outside. It's a game, you know, there's no recipe. It's not like like, oh, you know, it's going to work each time. No, it just, for this one particularly, it works really well. So sometimes I use what's the most common, the most easiest way to paint those kind of thing. Like you see, I put the here, there. But now if I look at that, okay, first of all, that is more of a circle like this. It's more going inside like this. And it's really sharp here. Okay, now if I look at the position of my hair is more somewhere here, so I didn't put it at the right place. And the neck of my horse is too thin now, because you see, it just, now I'm making almost like those two lines are concentric, so the center of those two circles is the same, but this one is actually more here. So that means I need to change that. It's more like this. And I have maybe a bit more volume here, which is going to give. Okay. And so now I have the forehead of my horse. You see, it's almost like I have some line here. And the here now is here. Okay, let's see. The here is about the same elevation and here, so it should be here. So maybe I'm missing some volume on the head of the horse here. Because my here should be answering that, the here should be here. And I have the other one here. Let's forget about that for a few minutes, and that's the thing, you know, I'm trying always to refresh my vision, and the only way to refresh your vision is to go away from it for a few minutes and just come back later. So I'm going to paint a little bit of those hair. I think I need a bit more volume here. Okay. There's something absolutely beautiful going on his back. And once again, it's always a game of partnership. The shapes don't exist without each other. Like, you know, if I insulate on the photo, if I insulate just an element, doesn't mean anything. It's a horse because the whole thing works together and show me a horse. But if on the photo I take a little square here, of course it doesn't mean anything. So I want you to try to see all those things that works together and write those notes about each element. Sorry, I'm really thirsty. I went for a walk this morning. Okay, I have this beautiful here kind of triangle. I don't know if you see it. It's like a triangle. It's like an A shape. And I have another one here. So I have this beautiful black thing here that resonates with this one. Okay, so now let's work a little bit on the back, because as I said, the back, there's something absolutely beautiful there. So I'm making some light gray. I have something here that is kind of light, and look, oh, that line here is almost joining the sky here. And then we have that goes here. That shape is pretty fascinating. So in that case, I have two brushes in my hand. I have a black brush and a gray brush, and I switch to them when I need it. So you know, if sometimes you wonder how many brushes you should have in your hands, in that case too sounds pretty good. So here we still have some black, we have some white. So I'm using that tiny brush to create those elements. Same thing, it's almost like a triangle here. So, you know, try to make all the shapes like something simple, like a geometrical figure that you can refer to, like circle, you know, anything that's going to help you to simplify in your head the shape of something. Like, for example, here I feel like it's almost like I have a W. And you see, by not referring to the horse itself, it makes me feel better, because I'm not painting a horse, I'm painting a succession of simple shapes that are going to end up into a horse. But as a thing, if I start thinking it's a horse, there's a lot of chance I'm going to be in complete panic, because I'm going to say, oh my gosh, that's too complex. And it's complex. It's really complex. I mean, don't make me wrong. I'm not, you know, I'm not... you see that clear light here? It's pretty simple. It's a really simple shape. Yeah, so as I say, you know, I mean, by just not referring to the horse as a horse, it doesn't make me feel completely petrified by the fact that, you know, I have to paint a horse. When I was a young comic book artist, we're talking about, I was 18 years old, drawing horses was one of the things I wanted to do, but I wasn't able to do it. Because I didn't have all those tools I have now that make me able to paint pretty much anything. And so what I'm sharing with you is that technique. And you know, it's just a technique. I mean, the talent after is something else. You know, how much you can, how much you can do with using that technique. That's going to be linked also to several things. That's going to be linked to the amount of work you're putting into it. Like, I won't lie to you, if you want to paint really well, it's gonna cost you a certain number of hours of dedication of work, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's what it is. If you just want to paint for fun, you can still improve tremendously the results you're getting by using those techniques. And you don't have to paint every day. You just can paint once a week, but still try to remember what I'm trying to communicate to you, which is that that technique. You see, for example, like I have those 3 shapes. Like I have, oh my gosh, that's so simple actually. I have something that goes from here, then goes down, and that goes into the leg. And I have one dot here and another one here. You see it? And then I have that thing here that goes like this, a bit clearer. So you see, by painting this way, it's not complicated. The complicated thing is to see it. And it's why painting is, the seeing process in painting is so important. And I don't remember, I think it was Matisse maybe, who say he was seeing too well and he needed to poke one of his eyes. And it's about that, you know, sometimes we see too many things and we get overwhelmed. Sometimes if we could see more simply things, we would be able to translate them better. And of course, you know, I'm managing some passage, so that means I don't want sharp lines, so but you see, my horse is little by little is coming to life. And truthfully, all I'm doing is paintings, relationships. Like for example, oh look at that, that's another one that is pretty interesting. I have this thing here that goes up like a heart shape almost. And here. And here. Okay, it needs some adjustment, it needs some subtleties and so on, but roughly it's what I have. And for now, all I'm seeing is that shape. And in a few minutes, when I'm going to take some step back, I'm going to look at it at something else, something that is part of the horse. Now, once again, I need to, you know, smoothen it and make the passage, avoid any kind of sharp lane. Like this thing here goes up here. And then after, you know, you just need to put some lighter gray where it is. Like for example, I have almost like a white spot here. It might be some sweat. I have a little one here, little one here. I have some white here. Here I have this big white spot here. This one is pretty funny because it goes like this, and then I have some sort of a hook here. And then it goes back here and here. So you see, without any effort or struggle, my horse start looking pretty good. And it's not like I'm doing something that requires so much talent. Okay, now that line that is so beautiful here. It's too much. I feel I need to mark that belly more with a darker black. And now you can, as I draw the gray shapes now, I'm just having fun with the black shapes. So there's one that goes up here. And same thing, you know, I'm trying not to I'm not trying to understand what I'm doing, which might sound a bit crazy because, you know, how can you paint if you don't understand what you're doing? I'm painting what I see. You know, the truth is that the magnificence of that animal has been created by something that is much higher than me. You call it the way you want. We can call it God, we can call it, you know, whatever. As a matter of fact, that the complexity of that animal, of the muscle, the bones, the shyness and so on, it's just something I'm unable to create, you know. By the way, there's not one painter in the world that can paint a horse like this from memory. What I mean by memory, I mean like recreating a horse like this. Even comic book artists, a lot of them work from photos and so on, for the reason that something like this is too complex to recreate if we don't have a model. So once you get that, I mean, the rest is just, you know, being humble and just trying to understand the complexity of things and trying to translate it into simple shapes so we don't feel completely overwhelmed. And you see, each time I see something and I understand something better, then I write it. And you know, there might be things like what I'm doing right now. I put something here, it was not at the right place. Okay, I'm moving it. Because I will get more quality by moving things and just keeping them thinking, oh, you know what? I'm right. No, I'm not right. Actually, I'm wrong. And all I'm trying to do is to, you know, make things better, but nothing in that painting is as beautiful as the model. All I can hope is to try to get close to it. I'm excited about painting the face, but I'm going to wait a little bit. So I have this thing here. Okay, where is that? So once again, let's try to think in terms of, you see I'm really off here. There's something really off. The face of my Indian princess has to be modified a little bit. I feel like I'm missing a little bit of space here. I'm going back to that shape, that kind of clear shape inside. Okay, there's something light here. So the light's getting here in the legs. You see that here? Here there's almost no line. And it's really important to do that because it's going to create the leg perfectly. And so the goal as well is to be able to paint. I'm always joking about that, but in order to be a painter, I think you have to be a little bit ADD because everything matters. There's not one area that you can just say, okay, you know what, doesn't matter. No, everything matters. Everything is in relationship with everything. So I need to be able to see all that at once together. And the only way I can see all that together is by judging constantly one thing in regards to the other. And therefore I need some ADD. So I'm able to do that. So it's okay to be ADD, I guess. That's what I meant. Now, I'm going to draw the leg from the outside because there's this beautiful line here. And it's really long. And actually, I think I gave too much volume to that. Here we are. I have a line here, then I have a bump, then I have a curve. I need some white here. Just here, it's beautiful, that light. So, you know, I was saying yesterday, and I don't know if it was in the non-recorded video, so it's why I'm going to say it again. So I spend a lot of hours standing up in front of the easel, and my legs can become a little bit painful, of course. So when you paint, it's really important to have really comfortable shoes, mostly if you stand up. If you paint seated, it's fine. The reason why I don't paint seated, it's because you know, when I was in art school, we used to paint standing up all the time. So I think I took the habit, and now I'm having some, you know, I don't really like to paint seated. But if you're more comfortable seated, then do it, you know, I mean. First of all, it depends of your body. You know, we are talking about Manet, who just got his leg amputated when he was older. I mean, he was not that older, he was my age pretty much. And so he started painting flowers because he could not stand up anymore. So, you know, sometimes our body make the choices for us. what I'm doing right now is doing passages, so I don't want the brushwork to be too obvious in that area. So I'm just blending things. Okay, I'm going to do something quickly. Okay, so, you know, the horse starts looking good. I'm going to work a little bit on those legs. That's interesting because those legs, because of the water effect, they tend to become lighter and lighter. So the way I'm going to make them this way is just by using a lighter gray. And after I can come back inside with some little white dots to create that effect of the water splashing. You see, the strange thing is that today was, you know, someday you wake up and someday, you know, I'm a bit tired and, you know, I don't feel great and so on. So today was a day like this, you know, like I felt a little bit, you know, I was even saying this morning, or maybe, you know, today I'm not gonna do any videos and even paint, maybe, you know, because I'm not feeling great. And so I went for a walk and I came to the studio and I was really quiet today. I was just, you know, I felt a little bit overwhelmed by everything. And so I was thinking to myself, you know, maybe it's not a good day to do a horse or whatever. And the truth is that because I'm feeling maybe at peace or whatever, I don't know, it's hard to describe it anyway. The truth is that my health is coming really well. And maybe even better than the one yesterday where I felt I was feeling better, or whatever is the word. So someday, you know, I already explained that several times, but someday you're going to have days where you feel like everything is good and you're going to make terrible paintings. Or not terrible, but not great. Nothing's going to be easy. Everything's going to be a struggle. And on the other side, someday you're going to feel like you'd rather stay in bed, and they're actually good days. So that's weird. I'm glad I came to the studio, and I'm glad I'm doing that painting because I'm enjoying it first. And I think it's a pretty decent one. So same thing, you remember when I say, you know, this space here, I just put it, I'm painting the outside of the horse, not the inside. Okay, now I have something going on here that I don't like. That space here, you see that shape? If you look at the one in the original photo, it's not like this, it's more like this. Here I have more of a larger line here, but and more like this, okay. And then I feel like my leg is going too low. And now, as I told you earlier, you need to be able to move everything. Now I have that. This is really black and like this. The more you'll be able to correct yourself, the less mistake you'll make. Very simple. So I think I have to shorten that leg a little bit. Yes. And maybe going a bit further here. I think that muscle here is a bit longer. I have that thing here that actually goes higher. So you see I'm moving from one place to the other without any kind of reason. I'm telling you, you know, it's about being ADD at some point. I don't know if it's iceberg or if it's just the white of the sea. We call it embrun. I need to be better at English. I'm missing a lot of words, and sometimes it's really technical words sometimes, so that's why it's a bit tricky for me. Okay. Jeez. So you see the tough part as well is to judge those level of grays in order for them to you know, like picking up the right gray. But it's going to help us tremendously when we're going to go to colors, if we know how to do that with black and white. Now I feel like I'm going to be able to work on the head of the horse pretty soon, which is going to be so cool. I'm excited about that. You know, that's exactly what I told you earlier. You know, I felt I was tired or whatever. And it's actually, so far, it's actually a pretty decent painting for what it is. You know, the little water, I can use my brush like this. I should put some Equine, and I forgot, but it's fine because it's on paper, the white will sink in and dry, so. Okay, let's work a little bit now on the head of the horse. It's a beautiful horse. So for the head, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, but the process is going to be the same. You know, it's just a matter of, it's just different because the scale is different, but the full process, the way I'm going to do it is exactly the same. And you see, once everything is pretty much located at the right place, then the painting itself is much simpler. I have that beautiful little white. So, you know, I'm looking in regards to that. I have this thing here that goes here. Okay, I'm almost done. I have that little white spot that is just so beautiful. I have a little bit of reflection in the harness. I have also those 3 little points that are showing the harness. I have a little bit of white here. Here I need to make that more like this. Okay. Now, of course, if I was working for days and days on that painting, I could make it almost look like a photo, but it's not my goal, so I'm going to stay to a place where I feel it's good. Okay. So you see, the white horse was more difficult. The first black horse went pretty well, and this one went really smooth. As I say, you know, someday I feel like I'm not good at painting, I should not paint, and so on. It's not necessarily those days that I should not paint. There's days I should not paint, when I mess up a painting. And someday I should just just paint even more. Okay. I'm just going to enhance one or two areas that I have this little brush where the white is a bit stronger. And as I'm doing that, I'm still correcting things I've done before. So it's not like I'm just I'm still correcting. Okay. There's some lighter gray, but you know, they were not that important, so I didn't see them. I can just add them now. There's my art shape that I kind of drop. I need to redo. I have like a A here. Okay. So you see, like for example here, the transparency of the paper make, you know, I told you the paper is kind of warm color, and I don't know, I think it's just not something that I really like, so I'm just going to add some more gray here, maybe a bit more here as well, here definitely, and the foreground. And I will be done. Okay. So at the end, what you can do, just to refresh your vision, is to use a mirror. I'm going to clean mine a little bit because there's some painting on it. Okay, and so I'm going to use a mirror and I'm going to look at the image, the painting in the mirror, so it's going to help me to see it like the first time, and that's really going to help me to see what's wrong. Okay, I see a couple of things. There's those lines here that I think are a bit too harsh, so you know what, I'm going to take a brush, make it really dry, so you know, wiping off, and just, you know, blending those colors, because for me it seems like they're a bit too harsh. Now there's another thing that I saw that bugs me, is that line here is too thin, and I saw it in the mirror, and so I'm just going to correct it a tiny bit, like this. And I'm going to be done. You know, as I said, you know, on a painting like this, I could spend another, you know, 40, 50 hours on it and make it look like a photo. But that's not the point of that particular painting. That painting was about having fun painting a horse, and I did. Okay, so move that bus. Ah, come on. Here we are, so let me show it to you. Like this, okay. Ah, you know what, it's not easy to do, to just show you a painting like this. Anyway, here we are. Okay, that's my horse. Yeehaw! So, thank you so much for being with me in the studio, and I think I'm going to do another black and white horse, and then after we might move to colors, maybe 1 or 2 black and white, and after moving to colors. So that's going to be really exciting. Okay, thank you so much. Bye, guys.